Such a good song, dude. I just love this song. So Yes is such an unbelievable band. Anyway, I had an interesting conversation with a friend a while back, talking about the convenience of certain things regarding God and religion. A friend told me, he said it's so convenient that, all these people tend to find God in prison. Like, why do they always find him in prison? Like, that's convenient. Well, first of all, I would argue about its convenience. It's not really that convenient, is it? Is it really convenient that you had to go to prison to find Jesus? I don't think so. I would much rather find Jesus in a good Christian home than in fucking prison. I don't want to have to go to prison in order to get my life to turn around. That's pretty inconvenient as far as I'm concerned. So let's address that aspect of it right there. I find it much more convenient to just one day just stumble upon something that turns my life around before I throw my whole life away and end up in prison for life, or prison for 10 years or something like that. That's a pretty inconvenient way to find them as far as I'm concerned. But regardless, let's address the fact that some people have to go to prison before they find God. And maybe what the person was really saying is that, it's convenient because it's like, okay, now that they've done all this crap, and now they're going to finally listen. Now that they have nothing better to do. Which unfortunately is just a truth that some people have to go through that before they find God. Before they quote turn their life around. And it's like, well, now that you're not in the challenging environment of the world anymore, where turning your life around, you could actually make an impact on the world. Now you're in prison and you're in solitary confinement, and you can't really undo the things you did. You went out and you had your fun. You killed people, you raped women, you did this, you did that. Now, okay. So I guess that's the sort of convenient aspect of it. It's like, okay, now you're gonna, where were you? Why didn't you find God, before you did all this nasty shit? But now that your back's up against the wall, now it's like, okay, now I can't have my fun anymore. Now I'm going to go to prison and I'm going to find God. Well, I guess the real question there is, why didn't that person find God out in the world before all that? Well, again, God was there. God was in the world. But you, being the prisoner in this scenario, chose not to find him out there. Chose, But the real miracle of the whole thing is that God is still there. Even when you go to prison, he's still there. He's there. He's everywhere. He's in the high places and he's in the low places. The good news is that he's still there when you go to prison. You can still find him when you're there. Not everybody has to go to prison to find him. I didn't have to go to prison to find him. I know a lot of people that didn't have to go to prison to find him, but we could have ended up in prison if we didn't find him. Could have easily ended up in prison. The good news is that prison is one of the places that you can still find him. Which kind of brings me to perspective. It's like, why do some people have to go to prison to find them? That's the real question that you want to ask. Why do some people have to get to that point? It's like, okay, now when it's almost, you say it's almost too late. Almost. Well, technically it's not too late because you're still breathing. You're still alive. You're still on this planet with a pulse. So technically it's not too late. But it's like all your chips are cashed in now. It's like, okay, now that all my chips are cashed in, I've had all my fun, now I'm going to find them. It's like, okay, well, that says nothing about God. It says a lot about you as a person who waited until that point to find God. It says a lot about you. But like I said, there's a lot of people that don't have to go through that to find God. Well, let's talk about that guy. Let's talk about that guy who wanted to have his fun before he found God. He wanted to do literally whatever the hell he felt like doing. He wanted to rape, he wanted to pillage, he wanted to murder, he wanted to destroy, he wanted to steal. He wanted to do whatever he wanted to do. Well, lots of times that's because of lack of perspective. They didn't have the perspective. They really didn't realize what they were really doing. They didn't realize that they were throwing their lives away until it was too late, until they actually threw their life away. I mean, it's very, very unfortunate, but some people just don't have that. They just don't have the perspective, I mean, they've done psychological studies on gang members, and they talk about the risky behavior that these 18-year-olds, 16-year-olds, 15-year-olds engage in. Like the insane risky behavior that these kids, I mean, they'll jump onto a moving car like they're an action hero, and hang on to it while somebody's driving away. And they'll still be like punching the glass trying to get in, or shoot, pull their gun out and shoot through the glass as the guy's driving away with them on the hood going 75 miles an hour. You think, why would you do that? Why would you do that? And the conclusion that the psychologists and the other people studying these gang members came to is because of their mindset is basically, well, I'm not going to live to be 21 anyway. Because of my world that I'm involved in. I'm not going to live to be 21. Most of the people I know die before they're 25 years old. So chances are, with the life I've chosen, I'm not going to live that long anyway. So I might as well just do what I'm going to do and have as much fun doing it as possible. And yeah, I'm probably going to end up in prison anyway. I'm probably going to die anyway. If I don't die, I'll end up in prison. If I don't die or end up in prison, I'll end up in a wheelchair for the rest of my life or something. So I'm just going to act like this. I'm just going to be a crazy fool because that's the culture I'm in. Do X, Y, and Z or die trying to do it. That's what the mantra is. So it's a lack of perspective, or it's the wrong perspective, And like these kids, and we were all kids once. We were all kids who lacked perspective. I remember my stepdad especially. Like, of course, my mom used to get really upset with me, but my stepdad mostly would get so upset with me because, he would talk about how entitled I was, and I was. I'm not saying that he was wrong. I'm saying he was right. The thing that made him wrong was that he thought I shouldn't be that way. And now that I'm older, I'm like, well, all kids are like that. Like, what do you, like, why would you think that I would be any different from any other kid out there who lacked perspective? All kids wake up in a bed that they didn't pay for, in a house that they don't pay the mortgage on, that has running water and electricity and air conditioning and that they're not paying for, and they eat a breakfast that their parents make for them, or maybe their parents didn't make it for them. They have to get up and make their own breakfast, but their parents still paid for the food, And then what do you do when you wake up in the morning as a teenager? Do you wake up every day and say, "Oh, Mommy, Daddy, thank you so much for this house that you provided me"? And this, no, that's not what they do. They wake up in the morning and they complain about everything. I don't want to take a shower. I don't want to brush my teeth. I don't want to go to school today. It's what they do. It's what I did. It's what you did. It's what your kids currently do if you have kids. It's human nature to not have perspective. And going to jail gives you a lot of perspective, boy. And unfortunately, that's what some people need. Unfortunately. But this friend of mine who said, well, I think it's really convenient that these people find Jesus when they go to jail. As if everybody finds Jesus when they go to jail. You really think that jail is full of all these righteous Christian dudes? That everybody who goes to jail finds Jesus? Like, what planet are you on? What planet are you on? If everybody who went to jail found Jesus immediately, jail would be an incredibly peaceful, loving, adoring place. I would want to go to jail because they would all be super nice to me there. Nobody be getting raped up the ass or getting shivved or all the other horrible things that happen in jail. Most people that go to jail do not find Jesus. Why? If God is there, why don't they find him? Well, because you said no to him in the world. You can say no to him in jail. You can deny him in the world. You can deny him in jail. You can still live in self-defiance. You can still live in your self-righteousness and your defiance. Like, I don't need to turn my life around. I was right to murder that dude. Jail is, majority of prisons are full of people who are dead set determined not to find God, not to repent, turn their lives around. I would venture to say that the same percentage of people who find Jesus outside of jail find Jesus inside of jail, whatever that percentage is. So that's my answer to that question of why people find Jesus in jail. Most people don't. But the people that do, unfortunately, needed to go to jail before they could find him. Whoever's going to find him is going to find him, and whoever isn't going to find him ain't going to find him, no matter where they go. No matter where they go, they ain't going to find him. And it ain't because he can't be found, it's because they keep saying no. I'm not going to open myself up to it. I'm not going to admit that I need God. I need to be saved. I need to turn my life around. I need to repent. That is the one step that you are responsible for. God does everything else.